joined with my old pal Terry Lynch from Power Metallic. Terry, thanks for joining us.
Great to see you, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Where do we start here, Terry? Normally, you're a guy who speaks his mind about whether it's the Canadian junior markets or it's macro. Maybe I'll throw out just some of the geopolitical stability that's happened in the last 24 hours, whether we're talking about the Charlie Kirk shooting, Poland having a drone attack, the stuff that's happening in the Middle East. Where should we start? And ultimately,
Well, it's interesting. All that stuff is obviously super dismaying as a human,
yeah.
and you sort of are sad for people's loss of life and how we have been unable to have like polite discourse, right? Which I think is a natural part of a healthy society. But I guess things have to get worse before they get better. I think there's, it's interesting. Obviously, all this turmoil probably reflects somewhat in gold, and the gold markets being so robust and the general uncertainty out there. So obviously that's impacting us directly as miners. It doesn't seem likely to me that it's going to get any less turbulent in the foreseeable future. So I think we got more of the same, as much as I would wish it otherwise.
I think a lot about what you just said, the how things have to get a lot worse before they get better. And I just kind of look at what's happened with Canada, where, we've got young people, they can't find jobs. We've got these tariffs that I think are going to hit us worse than anybody expects. Mark Carney just throwing money at tariff impacted companies as if that's going to solve anything, as if suddenly a new customer is going to emerge like the US, which we know won't happen.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like it almost just it seems like Canada kind of needs an event to wake up a certain percentage of the population that just seemingly doesn't seem to understand how bad things have gotten.
That's the thing, right? So unfortunately, it's coming home to roost now. We're starting to see it with, the unemployment and people just not the lack of affordability of housing and these types of issues. And I was in Ottawa about 3-4 weeks ago, met at the PMO's office, talking obviously about our project in Quebec and stuff like that. But one of the things I went through with the PMO is I said, guys, last year we only raised $20 billion as a country. I mean, that's a good IPO in the US. So we used to raise $100 billion all the time. So the capital markets are the lifeblood of an economy. If they're not robust, it eventually ripples through. And that's why you have unemployment. That's why you have lack of affordability. There's all sorts of, so if you don't fix your capital markets, how do you fix your country? So I said, guys, you can fix the capital markets. There's an easiest solution. It's stop the short market exempt thing, create an environment where investors are protected and feel like they can actually, have a chance to win and betting on good companies. Let the bad ones go down, let the good ones go up. If that happens, investors will come back, capital will come back into the system, jobs will be created, taxes will be paid. That's where we got to go. We got to start putting money behind good companies, but we got to do that with a transparent investment climate. That's an easy one for these guys to fix. When will they wake up, Steve?
Look, to your point, I talk to everybody who's been in this industry for decades. They tell me that, and this is before my time working in this industry, 15 years ago, there was all these long-only mining funds that existed, like the Crescat Capitals of the world. And, there was dozens of them that you could go to. I know that you talk to strong companies, they tell you that still exists. You talk to an institutional sales guy, they'll tell you that there's hundreds of them. But that's not the vibe I get when I talk to people who have been working for gold companies for decades. And I think that it's exactly what you're talking about, is that we've given this unfair advantage to certain players in the Canadian market who just, they get a call from an institutional sales guy at one of the junior investment banks, and they say, hey, if you can get a position here, we can go in with the lead order, then they'll follow in with the financing. You can cover that short. That's basically effectively the role. And I know some of them are friends of mine. They're going to watch me say that, but that's just the truth.
That's it, and the challenge is, it's like, you look at the whole ecosystem. Like, do I have some empathy for the investment banks? Yeah, because they're not making any money. They're trying to survive. Every organism, whether it be individuals or companies, try to survive and prosper. That's inherent in its nature. So these guys are doing what they can do because they got nothing else they can do because it's broken.
Yeah.
But we have to sort of, now I don't think we can cover it over anymore. It's sort of like I wrote an article on X about the cod fishery, and I compared the capital markets to the cod fishery. And I said, hey, we kept on fishing the cod and letting everyone that came in and fishing the cod until there was no more cod and it was over. I said, we're doing the same thing with our investors. Now we're down to 20 billion. What are it's going to be next year? So it's like, you got to stop it. So it's like the 4-alarm fire is on. Will we wake up? I mean, I think there's still time. I think, honestly, I was encouraged, me, I'm not the biggest liberal in the planet, but I mean, they're the government of the day, and I'm prepared to give them, we want them to do well. We want our country to grow. I felt like they had some positive things. They're smart guys. So I think they're trying to do some better things. But I think they need to fix the capital markets. If they can fix the capital markets, we'll find a way to heal ourselves. Look at us. We got tons of natural resources. We got smart people. We got education. We got infrastructure. We're next to the biggest market on earth. A little bit unfriendly now, but we needed a kick in the ass. We needed to wake up. It's on us. It's not on Trump.
It seems like when you watch the politicians talk, and I'll pin this on all of them, whether we're talking about Carney or Polyev I don't even listen to what. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the other guy, but there isn't really an understanding of where productivity comes from, and it's like, okay, we're gonna have our policies, and if we have them, then water's going to seek its own level, and we'll go back to productivity. But to your point, where's the industries? And how do you get those industries? You get those from capital markets. You get that from people putting risk capital into businesses that eventually create competitive advantages around the world. And then suddenly, look at that, you get the Shopifys of the world.
Yeah.
And in Shopify, like, I mean, I shouldn't speak for Toby, but you see them on Twitter. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they packed up and left to Silicon Valley one morning.
That would be scary. But I mean, you can understand why they would. If we got to create a better atmosphere in this country, and it's like I said to the PMO office, I said, look, you guys this group wasn't personally responsible for creating the mess, but you got to deal with it, and you can't deal with all things all at once. You can't change the guy who's south of the border. That's the reality of life, and that force is going to be in place for a long, long time, long beyond when President Trump is gone, in my view. So we need to change what we can change, which is, hey, let's get our capital markets more efficient. Let's get our training programs more efficient. Let's stop the immigration. This is just ridiculous. It's not that I'm anti-immigrant, because of course we are all immigrants to this country, but it's like, hey, we're drowning, man. We're drowning, and we're spending far too much money on this. It makes no sense. And our veterans, like, there's just so many areas of weakness. But hey, when you're brought in to turn around a company, you look for areas of crucial where you're bleeding out, and you cauterize those. So for us, it's got to be the capital markets and immigration. We need to fix the capital markets. We need to stop immigration and stop the bleeding, and then let's see where we go. That's a good first step, I would say. But of course, I'm just a humble junior miner.
All right, well, Terry, I could talk to you about this stuff all day, and I appreciate you engaging. But let's get a quick update on Power Metallic for our audience.
Yeah, so we've got about 20,000 meters in the can. We'd actually hoped to have a bunch of assays out by now, but assays are slower. But next week we expect to have a major dump, and then every 3 or 4 weeks after that, we think we've got some good results coming. We're growing the resource. We've had been, our biggest accomplishment this summer, I think, was getting that extra land package. That really is going to be huge for us, and I think people are going to be surprised to see, how big this resource is going to come. So we're super stoked. We're obviously fully funded. We're not out here raising money, thanks God, and of course the macro environment on the mining stocks is looking healthy. So we're hoping that once we get our news out, there's going to be rebalance, and probably the big news is we're going to ultimately move to New York probably in just a few weeks. So we're going to get listed there. That'll be big for us.
Just curious here, you guys get listed in New York. You think that helps you guys fend off some of the shorts a little bit?
Definitely.
All right, well, Terry, thanks so much for doing this. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I hope you have a successful week of meetings.
Thanks, man. Cheers for now.